not in a very good state, but alive. Clearly, Cedric had had a fall, that ominous statement which is the precursor of so many worse afflictions amongst the elderly. He appeared to have slipped getting in or out of bed and got jammed between the frame and the wall. He hadn't had the strength to pull himself up, and his phone was inaccessible the other side of the room. Fortunately, it was a warm late spring, so during his entrapment he hadn't died of hypothermia. Equally fortunately, the police had found him before he died of starvation. He had been taken to Chichester's main hospital, St. Richard's, where he was cleaned up. After treatment for various bruises and abrasions caused by the fall and his attempts to extricate himself, he was pronounced fit to go home. Except, of course, his home wasn't fit to receive him. The police's break-in into a place which had been locked up for so long revealed a catalogue of health hazards. It would not be safe for Cedric Waites to take up residence again until certain safety measures had been put in place. His recluse's unwillingness to allow anyone inside his house meant that various basic amenities were not functioning. The central heating boiler had not worked for some years. During the winters, Cedric's only form of heating appeared to have been an old-fashioned 2-bar electric fire. An equally ancient Ascot heater over the kitchen sink was his only source of hot water. Other domestic appliances had reached the end of their useful lives. The venerable Hoover had long since given up the ghost, though seeing the state of the place, using it had never been high on the old man's priorities. His television had broken down too, so had the internet router. The presence of the latter suggested Cedric might once have had a working laptop, but I saw no evidence of one. The landline had not worked for years, and his means of communication were reduced to a very archaic and far from smart mobile phone. Basically, anything whose repair or replacement would have involved an engineer coming inside Cedric Waites' house had been allowed to expire naturally. One item of kitchen equipment that did still work was the freezer, though it was in desperate need of defrosting. Its survival was important because Cedric stored all of his food in there, and without it he would have starved. There was also a much discoloured microwave, which appeared still to be in working order. This state of affairs was discovered by the officers of the social services who had inspected the place while he was still in St. Richard's. Had he been in residence, it is very unlikely that he would have allowed them in. An Englishman's home remains his castle, whatever state it's in, and without complaints from neighbours or evidence of criminality taking place on the premises, it's up to the owner who he allows to come in. It was at this point that the social services got in touch with me. I met for a briefing in their offices and pretty soon realised that Cedric Waites was going to be one of my more difficult clients. Cedric wasn't difficult in himself. When I got through to him, I discovered a man of considerable charm and intelligence. It was the getting through that was difficult. The way our first meeting was organised was familiar with me. It had happened with other hospitalised clients. The social workers who were to bring Cedric back from St. Richard's arranged that I should be in his house when they arrived. That was likely to be late morning on the Monday, after he had been passed fit by the doctor. They would not leave him alone at the house until he had had a discussion with me about the way forward. If that conversation didn't take place, or if he proved uncooperative, the implication was that he would be returned to St. Richard's. Though given the urgent demand for hospital beds, I'm not sure how realistic that threat was. I had worked with the social services many times and knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted to get the client off their hands as soon as possible, and delegating his care to me was a good way of achieving that outcome. That is not a criticism. Funding cuts and the lack of foreign recruits after Brexit meant that there were far too few social workers, and those who survived